Okay, symbolic interactionism. Me talking a little bit about what symbolic interactionism is. Um, give a few examples. Give some real world implications of what this really means and what it's all about. Um, One of the key features in symbolic interactionism, to me, is the idea of language. First and foremost, symbolic interactionism is the idea that all human interaction, all human ideas and behaviors are all formed by the group definition or definition that its society or culture gives to those. So, in that sense, language plays a huge role because in order to interact with anybody, you have to have communication, you have to have some sort of language to be able to share ideas, share opinions, discuss anything. Um, and through language, a lot of your memories and ideas and values are formed based on your language and interaction with other individuals. Um, an interesting side note to symbolic interactionism and language is the fact, and we were talking about this in class, the fact that that talking to yourself is still a symbolic interaction. Symbolic interactionism on the scheme or on the scale of individual to social still falls more on the social side, but is probably 60-40 because you still are forming your own ideas and everything based on this information, based on your own ideas of information based on social interpretation. So there still is an individual impact, but it's still largely social. And when you're talking to yourself, you're using language. You're using language that's been formed by a social group, by an other, and all yourself. You have a self, and that is it's kind of created and interpreted by yourself. It's created by your social interaction with everybody. It's kind of formed by your social interaction with everybody. It's kind of the part of you that is socially competent. You understand that part of you understands the social stigmas and rules that you should follow and ideas you should hold and things you shouldn't do. So it turns out that talking to yourself is kind of a debate between this side of you and your intrinsic beliefs, selfish side of you that likes certain things or wants to do certain things, but you have the side of society that's holding you back, that's telling you what you can and can't do. And that in a sense is still a symbolic interaction because you're talking to yourself and you're still using previous interactions with the group and with people to still govern your future acts, even if you are by yourself. Um, Symbolic interaction's view on society as a whole is it's just a group of individuals synthesizing together to form meaning and give definitions to certain things. As a whole, symbolic interactionism just takes a society altogether and just views it as individual components interacting together, and their interaction together forms the meaning for everything in the world. Symbolic interactionism doesn't necessarily uh, doesn't necessarily not believe in a overarching truth, but they don't necessarily care. They don't care if the chair is, well, how a chair is and is its most earth state, I guess you would say. But they only care as far as what the object is to them in their society. Symbolic interactionism states that objects that are used in a society are only used for their specific benefit, as they're only used as they become viable in that society. So they don't care what the car really is, they only care about the social definition of the car, and that will help form what people think of a car. So now, because of the Western idea of what a car is, not only has it become a place to get from point A to point B, which is what it may originally have been its purpose, that's what it truly is, but in our society, it's a fashion statement, a financial statement. It is still a way to get to point A to point B. And as a guy, having a nice car, it's often said that, guys don't like cars, guys like girls, and girls like cars. So guys like girls, so guys like cars. Uh, that's really an idea that's formed through symbolic interactionism. A male might like a particular car, but part of his idea of why he likes that car, or part of his desire to want that specific car, is based on the social definition of that car. You're not going to see too many people standing in front of a Pinto saying, "This is the car that I have to have. I'm gonna, run the town in this car," because everybody knows what the social connotation of that type of car is. So a guy's value of a car is largely in debt to what society views of that car. This really can be detrimental to other companies, not car manufacturers and everything, as far as what society's opinion are on those things. Somebody may make a good product, but if somebody has a bad opinion on it and it starts spreading like wildfire, all of a sudden, as a group, people don't like this product. So it really is the definition of the people that forms the meaning and value of a specific object, not what the specific object was intended for or what it's intended to do. It really is what it ends up getting used for. The symbolic interactionism views all group life and all group forming to be based on the functioning of others. All rules in life and everything is based on the definitions given by other individuals. So all rules and laws and governance is given by rules and definitions that have been formed by the social component, by the people. I took a philosophy class once, and it was a morality and justice class, and we were talking about different societies and the rules and laws and everything that are inherent to specific societies, and how different societies, and this speaks to symbolic interactionism, how different societies value, not only do they value different things, but they outlaw and allow certain things that other cultures don't allow. And we were trying to come up with any kind of laws or rules that we thought would have to be inherent to all cultures. I guess in this sense it would be, I guess the question we're answering is if there's any ideas that a symbolic interactionist would attribute to being a capital letter T, things that aren't necessarily formed by social interaction. And the only two things we could come up with were lying and murder, because if a society had to be established anywhere at any point in time, those two fundamental things would have to be viewed as being wrong and bad. Any other interpretation of anything can be left in the hands of the society or the group, and the interaction between them and the synthesizing of all the ideas and everything that everybody in that group has will begin to form the remainder of meanings and values and beliefs. But for that purpose, and in that class, we came up with murder and lying, because we said that that lying is one, because lying has to necessarily be wrong, because if there is no idea of the fact that lying is wrong, then there is no reason to ask someone what time it is or anything, because you don't hold true that you think that they're going to tell you the right time. So you have no need. So then communication dissolves, language dissolves, and symbolic interactionism thus would dissolve. In the murder sense, we identified murder as another quality, because we thought that in a society, if murder was allowed, every individual would always constantly be fearing for their murder, or for that they could be killed. And obviously, intrinsically, being killed is something that, whether it's social or individual, it's going to be bad. Nobody can tell you, except for maybe in a cult, that committing suicide or being killed is socially acceptable. But you would realize that in a society where murder was allowed, within that society, sub-societies would start and form of people who trust one another, i.e. families that trust one another not to kill each other, and then they would have sub-societies, thus resulting that murder still is then an underlying thing that should be outlawed. So when we were talking about symbolic interactionism and everything in class, that was one of the things I was thinking of, is that the idea of lying and murder still, although symbolic interactionism might say that those are still social, those means are still formed by interactions in individuals, those still are outlawed. So it really, it just kind of as a review, symbolic interactionism, it really shows the idea that everything is a social aspect and that everything is a social object, and everything that you do, including talking to yourself, is a symbolic interaction. Really, you judge all your values, opinions, beliefs, with the exception of maybe lying and murder, on the society and on other people's opinions. And it's really, symbolic interactionism is the idea of this, and the idea that the values and norms and beliefs and everything that come out of a society like this are because of this, is kind of what the group has formed together based on their interactions with one another. So that's going to do it for symbolic interactionism. I will see you in class.